Okay, so good morning everyone. So for today we're going to talk about negligence and damages involving personal hospitality. So first, what is negligence? As defined, the failure to take reasonable care to avoid causing injury or loss to another person. Further, it consists in the omission to do certain acts which result in damage of another. So that is negligence. So quasi-daily, as you can remember, in your obligations is also present in negligence. No? So if there are no existing contract between two parties, the relationship will be quasi-daily. So what are the requisites of quasi-daily? A brief recap. So of course, uh, merong act. Next is the presence of fault or negligence. Third one is damage to another. The fourth one is casual collection between the fault or negligence and the damage. So for example tayo, you jaywalked in EDSA and a bus with high speed tried to avoid you, thus slamming in a concrete barrier. So based from the requisites, there's an act in you jaywalk. So the presence of fault or negligence, the negligence is you jaywalk. You know well in fact that bawal mag-jaywalk sa EDSA. So damage, of course, is the bus slamming to the concrete barrier that thus creates a coincidentally between you and the driver. Next is fault. A fault signifies voluntary act or omission causing damages to the right of another, giving rise to an obligation of the actor to repair such damage. There are two kinds of fault. Culpa aquiliana is a substantive and independent fault with no pre-existing contract. Culpa contractual fault as incident in performance of an existing obligation. So, culpa contractual exists inside the obligation and contracts, while culpa aquiliana is uh, exists with no pre-existing contract. So, example, in case a bus driver is negligent and passengers are injured during the trip, the driver would be responsible for the injuries on the grounds of culpa contractual. Since drivers and passengers are bound by contract of carriage, if during the said incident the driver hit a pedestrian on the street, the bus driver would be at fault on the grounds of culpa aquiliana because there are no existing contract between the pedestrian and the driver. So that is culpa aquiliana. Next is liability of innkeepers. Article 102 of the Revised Penal Code states that innkeepers are civilly liable for crimes committed in their establishments. In all cases where the establishment violated an ordinance, laws, police regulations, this also includes employees. So, of course, innkeepers can be hotels, inns, motels, other any lodging establishments that or that services to people. Innkeepers are also subsidiary liable for the restitution of goods taken by robbery or theft within their houses from guests lodging therein or for the payment of the value thereof. So, liable din actually yung mga innkeepers pag may nawalang mga gamit ang mga clients nila. This is the sole reason why before we can deposit belongings in the front desk. But now, actually hotels actually uh, makes you sign a waiver that the property would not be responsible for any loss or damages. So it's also the reason why rooms nowadays in the properties have safes or vaults para may independent na kayo na lalagyan ng mga gamit. So there are doctrines in negligence. No? There are five. Proximate cause, contributory negligence, imputed negligence, last clear chance, and res ipsa locutor. Now we talk about doctrine of proximate cause, as defined a cause in which a natural and continuous sequence, unbroken by any efficient intervening cause, produces the injury and without which the result would not have occurred. So, an example, a jeep crashed because of a slippery road. Vehicles may skid on slippery roads without the driver's fault. So, you will hear a lot of what is the proximate cause of the act? No? So, ano yung talagang nag-cause ng negligence? So, in this case, the proximate cause is actually the slippery roads yung skill. But, in this case, no, in the doctrine proximate cause, without, if ang proximate cause ng crash is a slippery road, hindi negligent ang driver doon. Next is the doctrine of contributory negligence. The negligence of the plaintiff, a person who files a case against another, is merely contributory to his injury, being the defendant's negligence as a cause of his injury. What this doctrine actually says is both parties are negligent with one being higher degree of negligence. So yung nag-file ng kaso sa'yo in in the context of this doctrine is partially responsible for his injuries also. Ano sinasabi dito, careless din yung plaintiff. Doctrine of imputed negligence. It pertains to the rule whereby negligence of a certain person in a transaction or act which gave rise to the injury complaint is chargeable against a person for whom he was acting or against his associates. So, this doctrine is actually an example of this doctrine is actually the parents are responsible to some acts of their child. And also this also goes with work. You know, employers are also negligent to some acts of their employees. So there is a doctrine of imputed negligence. Doctrine of last clear chance. This is where both parties are negligent in such a way that the proximal cause of the negligence is impossible to determine. Whose party had the last clear chance or opportunity to avoid the accident by use of care but failed to do so. For example, Mike is sleepy when driving and Beth is on the opposite side of the road. Mike is trying his best to stay awake and his car starts to swerve when pumunta na siya sa kabilang linya onto oncoming traffic. Beth saw the car but she did not exercise care and slammed to Mike, thus hurting his neck. Under this doctrine, Mike can claim compensation for his injuries. Why? Kasi may negligence si Beth. Hindi siya nag-exercise ng care. And malayo pa lang, nakikita naman na ni Beth. So, she has full knowledge on what will happen in the next few moments. So yun na siya. Doctrine of first chance. Next is doctrine of res ipsa loquitur. Res ipsa loquitur is Latin for the thing speaks for itself. A doctrine in which one is personally negligent if he had exclusive control of whatever caused injury, even though there is no specific evidence of an act of negligence. And without negligence, the accident would not happen. For example, the piano of Mike rolled into his living room and fell through his window without him knowing. So nahulog yung piano. The piano landed on Kath on the sidewalk, causing injury. Under this doctrine, Kath can claim for compensation for injuries to Mike. So that's the res ipsa loquitur. So here are the remedies available to the plaintiff. Preventive remedy, a remedy preventing a violation of a right to be carried out. So, recall tayo, there are some contracts and obligations, no? In obligations, the to do or not to do. So, this is not to do. Ipiprevent nila yung further omission of a violation. Next is compensatory relief. This is where most of us would understand this is also known as damages. So what are damages? The fundamental principle of the law on damage is that one injured by a breach of a contract or by a wrongful or negligent at or omission shall have a fair and just compensation, commensurate with the loss sustained as a consequence of the dependency. So basically, pag sinabing damages, pera ang pinag-uusapan. Babayaran ka. Here are the kinds of damages. First is the actual damage, adequate compensation for pecuniary loss suffered by a person. So when they say actual damage, parang babayaran mo lang din yung nawala sa person. Moral damage is a victim is entitled to this type of damage if he or she suffered mental or social injuries. No, the mental and social injuries na pag napahiya ka, pag hindi ka na makatulog, anxiety, these are moral damages. You are entitled to claim moral damages. Nominal damage. Simply put, compensation will be made because of a violation of right, even with no injuries of loss. So, pag na-violate lang yung right mo, you can actually claim for damages. And kahit walang injuries, walang nawala sa'yo, you can claim damages. Nominal damage ang tawag dito. Temporary damage. Mean reasonable damage if the amount from the nature of the case be proved with certainty. Justice legally damage the amount of money agreed upon a contract if one breaches the said contract. So, liquidated damage, pinag-usapan nyo na to ng both parties, and this is actually a clause in your contract. So, pag may nag-breach, ito yung money na mabayaran sa isa't isa. Exemplary damage, also known as corrective damage, imposed by a way of correction for the public good. So this ends our lecture for this morning. Further questions, please message me directly or send it to me. Thank you and good day, everyone.